20 steps back with me, and so you can
Yes.
kind of relax, and I can show you around. I'm going to now. I'm hoping you're not afraid of heights.
No,
I'm
no,
just going
that's
to
fine.
quickly take us up into the air and show you what we've got in here. So this is the kind of bird's eye view. We were stood right over there in the far corner. I don't know if you can see my laser pointer. So that's one of the whiteboards that we've got. Some of the other features of lots of the cubicles that we have, I just wanted to point out. So breakout tables, we have lots of different kinds. We have like the cafe tables over here, and we have these more kind of focused working tables. One of the rules on Qube is when you're sitting at a table, you can only hear the people who are also sitting at the table with you. So when we're teaching in big groups and we want to do kind of parallel activities or breakout sessions, often we'll get a group of 3, 4, 5 people to go sit at a table, and we'll do that in a moment, and you can kind of you can kind of experience it. But so we can use the space we have in this cubicle the same way as we would in a real kind of teaching room to get people to do breakout activities, and then we come back together and share. The same rule is true of anywhere where there's a red carpet. So you see down here on the left, there are these kind of what look like little glass dividers. So these areas here, you can stand on this carpet, and there's a big long whiteboard on the left-hand side here. And we can all work on that whiteboard in parallel next to each other without kind of talking over each other. But we can move those dividers out of the way, so then we can all stand back and see everybody's work on the whiteboard. And the same thing goes for, we have some kind of breakout rooms over here, which we can go into later. Whatever's happening in the breakout room there won't interfere with what's happening in the main room. So we have lots of different designs of cubicles. This one's set up for quite a big group. You know, you could easily have sort of 20, 30, 40 people working here,
okay.
All together. And we can do, we can't see it from here, but if I click us back down onto the ground, you'll see we've got a big a sort of dual screen projection at the front there. And this little gadget at the front is effectively like a laptop at the front of the room. So you can go to that little workstation, you can share your screen onto the laptop, and it will come up on the big screen there. So you can present to a big group. Obviously, Eddie's been teaching Old World, New World here, and we've got a slideshow going on over here. So that's kind of how we do our teaching. It's designed to make the transition for a tutor as easy as possible. So if they're used to going into a big room and presenting at the front and then getting breakout groups going, it's exactly the same metaphor on Qube. But of course there are huge advantages to being virtual, which I'm sure you've talked about with Eddie, in terms of being able to connect from anywhere, across the time zones. You don't have to work all at the same time. You can have asynchronous work going on, so people come in and they do some of the work, and then another group picks up and moves it to the next step. So lots of benefits, but all the same kind of things that people are used to apply. And part of our thinking with Qube was to make it as easy as possible for non-techies to make that shift to working and learning virtually. I've done a lot of talking. I should probably let you ask some questions, and then we'll figure out where we go.
Okay. Yeah, looks really good, and I think the approach it's nice. And one question: do you have also standard classroom, or everything is virtual at the Pentacle Business School?
We do have. I mean, the Pentacle started as a virtual business school, but often we are working face-to-face with clients, either at their space or at, we have an office down near London, which we do run workshops from, but less and less. I have to say, over the last kind of 10 years, the utilisation of that space is going down, and more of our work is entirely virtual. And that was always Eddie's dream, was a purely virtual business school, and I have to say we're getting closer and closer to it now. I mean, we've tried all the usual things you would expect, like conference calls and screen sharing and Skype and websites and collaboration sites and things like that, and they've all added a little bit, but none of them have ever really been able to replace face-to-face classroom-based training. Until we started building Qube, and this was the first time we were really kind of confident that what we can deliver virtually is as good, if not better, than what we could deliver face-to-face, and that's been the real kind of transition in the last couple of years.
Agree. And talking about the virtual, do you think? Is it possible to connect with virtual reality headset like an Oculus or HTC Vive? That's
Yes, it's certainly possible. I think it's kind of, it's a little bit like in here, it's possible to put whiteboard on the ceiling, but then you kind of go, well, why would you do that? Just because you can. It doesn't make a lot of sense at the moment for most people wanting to do serious work.
Probably, yes.
And I think the VR is still at that stage, is that, it's been a battle over the last few years to get, professionals in an office to wear a headset. I think we've kind of crossed that bridge slightly, so that now people are relatively comfortable to be, online, using a headset, working on Qube. I suspect getting them to wear a big, clunky, cumbersome headset for VR, especially if you want the glove and all the other movement tracking and stuff. The technology is not really ready yet, I don't think. Not for production use. I'm sure it will move, and there's no barrier in principle for using Qube in that way. I know we've done a few experiments in that kind of area in the past, but at the moment, for what we're using it for, I think that's a step too far for most of our users. And if you can get most of the benefits without needing all of that extra stuff, then it's a kind of a bit of an 80-20 thing, really.
I agree, and probably with a VR keeping it on your head for a long time, we will make people sick at some point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's tiring. It's very immersive, clearly. But one of the challenges with working and learning is that if you've got something else which is taking you out of or occupying some of your mental bandwidth, you've got less mental bandwidth left for the working and the learning. And until people are comfortable with looking at a screen, that doesn't take any extra bandwidth. If you were to take someone from an office in the 1960s or 70s and put them in front of a screen with Word, they would find that really overwhelming and probably not be able to be very productive. But people in corporate life are perfectly capable of sitting in front of a machine and a screen for long periods, and they can get into Qube and they can work and learn, and it doesn't take up any extra bandwidth. And I think VR, we've got to wait until that is just a normal part of life before it's going to be useful for what we're trying to do.
Agree.
And it will come, and I'm not going to be foolish enough to try and predict how many years that will take, but it's something we watch, and, but it's not something we're really kind of moving into at the moment.
Okay, and if you are still on the technology side, what kind of what are you using to as a platform for Qube? What technology you have behind?
So it's something we've built. So we're not a software. My background is in computer science, and we've built a platform. So we have a server that we run, which is kind of the sort of central connection point. We've built the client, and we've added features to it over the years that kind of make it what it is. But most of our effort, to be honest, has gone into the internal design of the Qube worlds. I mean, there are lots of other 3D worlds. We've looked at things like Via and Second Life and so on and so forth. But so many of them were aimed at gaming. It was very hard to do work in those kind of environments. And so we wanted something that we could tailor to specifically what we needed, which was teaching tools and working tools. And we're just in the process at the moment. We're close, but again, I know better than to promise deadlines for new software. But we have a new version of Qube which is in the pipeline, and that will allow us to do even more kind of connectivity with the rest of people's infrastructure. So you'll be able to do things like tweet and post messages onto LinkedIn directly from inside Qube, so you can connect with your colleagues and your wider network and incorporate them into your Qube network. I mean, Qube is we're aiming for it to be the place where people go to work, and so I mean the obvious fringe benefits around reducing travelling and so on and so forth are clear, but the ability to connect with colleagues and drop to a quick meet, which is a very small, lightweight cubicle just like a kind of you would have in an office building, you'd have small meeting rooms which are set up ready for people to work. They've got all the materials there. You've got a whiteboard. You've got a place to keep your notes and so on and so forth. But we have automatic janitors who come around every evening and tidy all the cubicles up and ready for the next day. So we're aiming for it to be kind of integrated into the way people work. And the next version of the software we're hoping will do an even better job of that.
Yeah, sounds good. So basically everyone will have a virtual desk, right? And yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, how you set it up, that's one of the ways we do it. How you set it up, we have. I'm sure you talked a little bit about the kind of business model for Pentacle, which is three things. One is we do training courses. So most clients we have come to us for training, and so they will need a training environment. So a big cubicle, depending on the size of the course, obviously, but a big cubicle similar to this with lots of capabilities for us to teach people about projects or innovation or leadership or whatever the content is. But we always encourage them to bring their own projects into the learning, because people learn better if they're doing it on something that's meaningful. And so what often happens is a project that someone's working on as part of a course then needs a cubicle in order to kind of maintain its momentum. And so we'll set up project cubicles for people. So it might not be they have their own specific desk, but they might have a cubicle for the big projects that they're working on. And then they can invite their colleagues and other people to join them and work with them in those spaces. So that's the second kind of type of model that we operate in terms of business model is people come to us with, we've got this big change project, can you help us make it successful? And so the starting point then is the project, and we'll build a cubicle specifically for that project. We have some kind of off-the-shelf cubicles for generic project work, but sometimes it's a specific change project and we want something customized to suit. They're often partially into the project and there's some existing materials or work that they've done which we need to be able to kind of incorporate. So doing things on a kind of project by project basis is another way we do it. And then the third way is we call it kind of at your service, which is often clients come to us and say, we don't really know what we know we've got a problem here, we don't quite know what it is yet, we don't really know what the answer looks like, but can you kind of work with us to figure all those things out as we go? And if Eddie, I don't know if Eddie talked when you were with him about foggy projects. These are often ones where you don't really know what it is you're trying to do or how you're going to get there, but you know you need to do something. And so we would set up a cubicle for us to work with the client to just define and scope out what might be needed. And again, we have some specific cubicles around for that help for doing those kind of works, and then off from that will spring somebody needs a war room or a strategy room or whatever turns out they need, and we can set up cubicles for that.
Okay, yeah.
So we do have some very specific ones, but they're not kind of like an individual office cubicle just for one person. We do have for our team we have those. So often within Pentacle we are running 3 or 4 projects, so we have our own space to do that. But we invite our colleagues in and we jump between each other's cubicles. That's just the nature of our business. If that's what the client needed, then that's what we could do. But more often than not, we create project-based cubicles for them.
Mm-hmm. And basically, the work is divided between, I think, teaching students and also private companies, right? So something like this is the main work, what's happening inside Qube, right? If I understood properly.
Yes, that's right. So if I can ask you to find in the places, there's a place called Small Discussion Board.
Okay.
I think that's got some examples on it that I can kind of show you.
Oh.
If you click on there.
Oh, okay. So should I click on screen?
No, you might just scroll.
No.
Small Discussion Board, or you can just walk over to where me and DW are standing. It's this.
Okay.
Over here. You'll see there's a whole series of pictures on there. So if you come a little bit closer, in fact, I'll give you another trick. Here's another one you can try just to make things easier as we get into it. Underneath the people list,
Yes.
between people and places, you'll see there's 5 little icons. The
Yes.
one in the middle that looks like 2 Qbots joined together.
Yes.
If you click on that and then click on my name.
Ah, I see.
Now, whatever you don't do anything, you're following me.
Okay.
So if I move, you'll move as well, and so
Yes.
I can sort of show you around these cubicles. I mean, these are genuine cubicles. You can see there's one there, which is Telefonica O2. That was a project cubicle we set up for them. You can see they've got their O2 badges on the Qbots. So they were working on a very specific project. This one looks to me like CGI. So we did a couple of programs with CGI. That looks like a big review session where we're showing people are showing their projects and the things they've been working on. You can see down here we've got some outdoor space. So we do big events. We've done a couple of conferences on innovation and health. We work a lot with the NHS in the UK. And we did some big kind of outdoor events on that. These are some of the whiteboards that are available in the project cubicles. So you can see how much content is available there. And part of the courses that we take people through is how to find the content and the pets. I'm sure Eddie used pets, like hopes and fears. The
Yes.
standard way of engaging and aligning people at the beginning of a session. So there's all the materials are available. There's a wider shot of that group working on it. So they've got a whole series of project pets that they're working on and doing things. This is one of the smaller project planning cubicles that I was talking about. So you can see it's a relatively small space. It has a shelf with materials on it. It has a whiteboard for capturing ideas and thoughts. But other than that, it's a fairly small cubicle just for a couple of people to meet and connect together on or whatever. And this is one of our big conferences.
Whoa.
So we have some traditional looking conference rooms. That looks to me like a CubeX, which is, TEDx?
Yes.
The kind of independent TED events. Well, we run these CubeX events. This is one I think we were running for the NHS. So they invite 1 or 2 guest speakers on. They pick a topic, and we help coordinate and run those events, and then host the breakout groups for them. So that's you can see it there. There's a group of people working in those glass dividers that I showed you, which are on the other side of the room, working in parallel on breakouts, probably from one of these events. So that you can see the kind of things that we can do in the different environments that we have.
Yeah. So one more question, David. Basically, if someone goes through, one of these experiences, they are continuing after to come back, right? I mean, I think once they start use with Qube, they come back and try again, right? Even if they are students.
Always, people are always hooked. Yeah. So I mean, we try to make it possible for. I mean, that again, our business model is to give people the learning that they need to do without us. So if we can do that, then that's great. But we do offer the access to the cubicles for whatever period of time that they need after the project or the training course, whatever it is. And once we've got people up to speed and they're able to, manage and run their own projects using the Pentacle techniques, then we do a lot of train-the-trainer stuff. So we train internal people within organisations who then go and train other people, and they do that on Qube as well. So that's another sort of way that we enable people to keep using Qube. And we do kind of meet with them on a regular basis and kind of audit that they're still adhering to the principles of the New World working, using the pets, using kind of New World techniques for solving, not just drifting back to running bad meetings virtually, which is kind of we really don't want people to fall into that trap. And, it's not good for them and it's not good for us as a brand. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm fine with all my questions. You clarify. I had initially a big list, but you cover all my questions that I might have.
Fabulous. Well, that's really good. So you found out Qube found about teaching. I suppose we can talk a huge amount about teaching. I mean, one of the things we do when we're working with partners on Qube is we do spend a reasonable amount of time getting non-Pentacle tutors up to speed with how to teach effectively on Qube. And we have our inspiration events, Inspiration on Qube, which are every third Thursday of the month, and we have a guest presenter, and we often have to take their 50-slide PowerPoint deck and turn it into 10-minute chunks with some working in between and some breakout questions and things. So
nice.
I think some people confuse teaching and lecturing, and people are confident to stand up and lecture for 30 minutes, but they're not necessarily confident to give people a little bit of input for 10 minutes and then send them away to work and then manage the breakouts. But we found that's a much more effective way of getting people to learn rather than talk at them. So that's how teaching is different, I guess. And it's something that we've built up as part of our kind of intellectual property, I suppose. We've built up our core capability around doing that effectively, and we share that with others through Train the Trainer and through our inspiration events. So the Inspiration on Qube events are open access, so anybody can kind of come along and join us. And there's a schedule, I think, DW, isn't there, on the website somewhere?
Okay.
DW's just popped off, I think, to he's back.
I'm sorry, I'm good. Schedule
That's
for
right.
Inspiration events.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. I'll just put the link into the chat.
Perfect, thank you. So in the see a chat window pop up in a moment, if you do, and so you can get to the schedule there. So if you or any of your colleagues wanted to join and see Qube live, you're more than welcome to pick one of those that sounds like it might be of interest.
Okay, yeah, and okay, so Qube, CC, Inspiration. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, David.
So you can on that one. You can at the moment. This is it seems a shame to end on a slide. This is one of the things that we are building into Qube for the next versions. At the moment, clicking on that link in the text chat doesn't well, you have to right click and do comment browser.
I see. Yeah.
But that's something that will be fixed by the next time. Every now and again, I as I'm showing people around Qube, I find these